The Israeli Defense Force has released intercepted audio of what it claims is an admission from Hamas that the Gaza hospital strike was carried out from within Gaza. The IDF says the audio shows an interaction between two Hamas operatives discussing the strike, suggesting the missile was launched from an area behind the Al-Ali hospital by the Palestinian Islamic Jihad.
تكون الشظايا تبعت الصاروخ انه شظايا محليه مش زي شظايا ايش بدي سبحان الله من عندنا ما لقاش غيرين بجرثبي عاد هذول تلاقيهم من المقبره الورا دي بسلك محط فيهم ايش اصدر بتلاقيهم طالعين من المقبره الورا المستشفى المعمداني دي اللي هو
I want to give you an announcement of the event that occurred in the hospital in Gaza. I can confirm that an analysis of the IDF operational systems indicates that a barrage of rockets was fired by terrorists in Gaza, passing in close proximity to the Al-Ali al-Ma'adi hospital in Gaza at the time it was hit. Intelligence from few sources that we have in our hands indicates that the Islamic Jihad is responsible for the failed rocket launch which hit the hospital in Gaza. I repeat, this is the responsibility of Islamic Jihad that killed innocents in the hospital in Gaza.
And for a closer look at what we do know and what we don't about this blast, I want to bring in CNN military analyst, retired Lieutenant General Mark Hertling here. General, look, we have some video here, and I want you to just take a look at this. This is some footage that seems to show a rocket going up here, and then something happens that's pretty catastrophic. When you see this, what do you see?
I see a flame out of a rocket. And we've been talking about this all day, and it's a result of what happened yesterday. But when you see that rocket going forward, this happens a lot with these kind of rockets that are supplied by Iran, Abby. It is a rocket motor that doesn't work. It gets a certain distance, and then it just flames out. And a rocket has a trajectory of a brick once it doesn't have a force behind it, so it immediately drops. So you see it right
this is a slow motion
there,
version of that video.
Flame out.
Yeah.
So it loses its rocket motor, and then it just drops down. But what you also have when that happens is the fuel that's part of the rocket that hasn't burned. So when it hits the ground, we'll see next
Here's
the
video of an explosion from a viewpoint from the ground.
Yeah. Now, this isn't a very big piece of ordnance. It's a relatively small ordnance. So the actual explosive isn't that big. But what is big is the fuel that it hasn't used. That caused a lot of cars in that parking lot to burn. We see the after effects of that. We see a very small crater.
Some of the images are not super clear.
No.
Whether there was a crater or not. But when you look at this is up close at the cars and the site of the fire. What do you see?
Well, what I saw earlier today was a photo of a very small crater about right there. What you see in this area are a lot of burned cars. What you see over here are cars that are not burned. What you see across at this building, if you had a picture of the building, which I think we do, no, I'm sorry.
We don't have an up close of the building, but we do have these.
What we do see is pockmarks on the side of the building.
You can look at this video here, and it shows some of the
it will show up here. You see the burned
buildings.
car, but as the camera scans over here, you'll see cars that aren't burned.
Yeah.
Very close. So it had an effect of the explosive capability of a rocket, which is relatively small, but a lot of fuel blowing up after it that didn't burn off the rocket motor. So this is evidence of certainly not a bomb that would come off of an aircraft. You see the pockmarks, the blown out windows, but not a whole lot else. I mean, there's not a whole lot of damages to the building. Now, the doctors inside of the building said that there were patients that were injured. That could have been from the blast, glass flying inside of the building, but it certainly wasn't a strike on the hospital itself.
Adam, you know, for those of us that are honest brokers, we can take the evidence and assess it and see clearly what happened here. But you have an entire Arab world that believes some of the stuff that Hamas is saying. So what does the Prime Minister, what do you say to those that believe Hamas and believe the jihadists?
That's a great question. anything that comes, any information, any footage, any numbers that come out of the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip should be taken with a huge grain of salt. This is like taking an account from out of North Korea, for example. Would you trust numbers or footage coming out of North Korea? No. We, on our part, do investigate, we conduct inquiries, we know how to do what we do, and we put out verified information. When I speak numbers, when I debrief foreign media, I know, or the IDF spokesperson unit, we know the numbers that, that the numbers are real, that the footage is real. You can't take Hamas's word for anything. Haven't you not seen what they've done on the October 7th massacre? How can you take the word of anything coming out of these terrorists, these barbarian savages who brutally murdered 1,400 of our civilians? Now, you have to understand that everyone in Gaza is under Hamas's control right now. Even if you speak to a doctor, you speak to a citizen, you speak to the Gaza Health Ministry, which is in fact the Hamas Health Ministry, you should take these reports with a grain of salt, because they can't speak their mind. They can't just say what they want. They have to be aligned with the general Hamas message. Otherwise, they will pay the consequences.
Yeah.